Hello, I'd like to do a comparison between a real Swiss Army knife and a Chinese knockoff. So here I have the Victorinox Swiss Champ and the Chinese knockoff knife. Now, for a real Swiss Champ, you're looking at anything between £40 to £100, depending on what materials or what colour you like the scales to be. These cost about £8. Now obviously there's a massive price difference there, but it's worth it to buy a real Victorinox because these are honestly terrible. I probably bought this about 6 years ago on Amazon. I've tried to use it a handful of times, but honestly it's terrible. If you do a comparison of these knives yourself, you'll see a massive difference. So they are pretty similar in size, and the tool layout is almost exactly the same, but not completely. I will demonstrate a few tools on both models to show the difference, and you will see, and I'm sure you'll agree, that the Victorinox is much better. One thing I'd like to say just now before I forget, you'll notice that the Victorinox has this little screwdriver in it. This model had that, but it broke. I've never heard of that happening with the Victorinox. And whatever tool was in here, I actually can't remember what was in there, fell out a long time ago. And for whatever reason, this one has a mirror. I believe it's supposed to be a signalling mirror. I believe these were advertised as a survival multi-tool, which you do not want to, well, you don't want to have to depend on this to survive, because this thing is useless. It's pretty rubbish. So to start off with, we'll look at the main blades. Now I have to use a pair of pliers to open this because it is a bit of a nail breaker. So we'll have a look at the tang stamp, which is this right here. All it says on it is stainless. Nothing else, no maker's marks, nothing. I don't even know who makes this knife. Now we'll look at the Victorinox. So on one side here, on the tang stamp, it says Officer Cease, like most Swiss Army knives do. And here on the other side you could see Victorinox Swiss made stainless. And there aren't any tang stamps on the smaller blades. Now I'm going to do a few cutting tests on both of these knives, and I'm just going to do that on this piece of ash wood. I've already done a few earlier on. So first off, the cheap Chinese model. So it can cut, just not very well. It could do with a sharpen, to be fair, but it's definitely not very sharp. And we'll try it with the Victorinox, which clearly does a much better job. The Victorinox is much more comfortable to hold as well. Another test I'd like to do, which I often do with my knives, is cutting a piece of 550 Paracord. As you can see, this has not been gutted, it's still got all 7 strands inside of it. And I'd just like to press down on it. As you can see, it didn't cut. Try sliding it back and forwards. Okay, so it eventually cut it, sliding it back and forwards. And as you can see there, it's not a very clean cut. We'll compare that to the Victorinox, pressing it straight down. Almost completely cut it. Clearly the Victorinox is much better. That's not to say you can't do that with this knife, obviously it just needs sharpened. The next tool I'd like to compare is the scissors. And I think this is an important test because a lot of people buy these kind of tools for the scissors. So we'll start off here with the cheap Chinese ones. Now you can see that just by looking at them, Victorinox looks of a much higher quality. And these feel much more flexible, in my opinion anyway. So we'll try cutting the paracord again with these scissors. Now what use is that? That's absolutely useless. Now with the Victorinox, perfect cut. I'll demonstrate that again with the cheap ones. Massive difference. Let's just take a quick look at the screwdrivers. So there's the Victorinox. And this other one, the spring is so tight I can't actually get it out. So I'll have to use a pair of pliers. And even with the pliers, it's difficult. What a difference. You can see here the Victorinox is much thicker and will be much stronger compared to these. The head on this, in my opinion, looks absolutely terrible. Compare that to the Victorinox. The machining is much better on this Victorinox. They both stop at this angle and of course can be put out straight. Let's have a quick look at the saws. The cheap Chinese model. And the Victorinox. Again, they look very similar. I think the Victorinox is slightly bigger. They look very, very similar. Now, I've not actually used this one, so I can't really comment on it, on its abilities. Now, I think you can cut with this, but trust me when I say that Victorinox is far superior. I can feel that these teeth are actually much sharper than this Chinese model. And I have sawn with this Victorinox. Now these are only made to saw pieces of wood, maybe slightly thicker than your thumb, but it can do thicker, of course, maybe up to an inch or so. Let's do a comparison between the pliers on the two models. I'll have to wrap this up shortly. I think I'm going to run out of memory. You can see just by looking at it, the Victorinox is much stronger. And the Victorinox is almost twice the thickness. And as you see here, the Victorinox has grooves machined into it for more precision work and to give you a better grip. These do not, these are flat. Now these Victorinox pliers are very precise. You could easily pinch a piece of skin with it, as you can see here. You cannot with these. I'll do a comparison between the magnifying glass, if I can get it out, on the cheaper model. Now straight up that looks pretty useless, and a handful of times this piece has fallen out compared to the Victorinox. You can see that actually does work. It actually does magnifying things like it's supposed to. I'm really not sure what the magnification is on that, comparing it to this. Now, is that not just absolutely useless? Try it the other way just to be safe. Same thing again, useless. And I'll just demonstrate one more tool before this video decides to cut off, and that will be the awl. Again, they're very similar and they both have a sewing eye, except the Victorinox doesn't break your nail when you pull it out. You can see that the Victorinox actually does have an edge, unlike this which is flat. Now you can use these do still punch holes. And I'll just demonstrate on the same piece of ash wood. So it does cut, comparing that to the Victorinox. Surprised to say they're quite comparable. Now, I don't know if you noticed that there, but I just closed the awl on my finger. So this one is sharp, which it is supposed to be. That was probably my own fault there. I wasn't holding it properly. Should have kept my fingers out of the way. Now, if you're looking into getting something like this, honestly, if you can, avoid these. They're a waste of money. But again though, the price difference is enormous. £40 or £8. But these are next to useless. Some of the tools will work, but what good is that if you can't even get them out half the time? Now I will say, you will notice there is a bit of damage here where the scales have came apart. That was my own fault. That's because I put it in the dishwasher and the heat made the scales warp. I just wanted to clean the thing. That said, the scales on this have fallen off several times by themselves, and I've had to glue them back on. But if you really do need something like this, I'd suggest getting a cheaper Swiss Army knife. You can get Swiss Army knives as cheap as £15, although they only have about 5 or so tools on them, but they are much better than this. You won't even be using this that much, the tools are that bad on it. Okay, I'm just going to wrap this up now. So thank you for watching, and I hope you found this interesting and useful.